The chains rattled with a metallic groan as the front tires of my 1967 Ford F-100 lifted off the gravel. My coffee mug slipped from my hand, shattering against the porch railing before I fully grasped the scene. My truck, me late wife's pride, the one we'd spent countless nights wrenching back to life, was being hoisted onto a flatbed tow truck. And there, standing like she just conquered a kingdom, was Miranda, the HOA president who had no claim over my land, clutching a neon clipboard like it was a scepter. That truck wasn't just steel and chrome. It was my heart on wheels. My fists tightened as I stepped off the porch, not yelling not yet but feeling a fire ignite deep inside. Miranda's smirk was all teeth as I approached, her lavender perfume hitting me like a cheap air freshener. She sized me up like I was dirt on her polished shoes. "You can't park this junk where everyone has to see it," she snapped, gesturing at my truck like it was a blight on her perfect world. "This road's part of our community's charm." I pointed at the truck, my voice low and deliberate. "That's on my property, Miranda. You're trespassing." Her laugh was sharp, dripping with arrogance. "We voted. It's an eyesore. It's gone." I wanted to ask who gave her the right to dictate what sat on my ranch, land she never stepped foot on until she got high on HOA power and her obsession with curb appeal. But I held my tongue. The tow driver glanced between us, uneasy, like he sensed he'd waded into a storm. Miranda barked at him to keep going, and he obeyed with a shrug. I stepped back, boots crunching on gravel, watching my truck rise, chains taut, tires dangling. It was a crime I couldn't stop yet. But what Miranda didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that the gravel road her tow truck had rolled in on, the one winding through the oaks to her pristine cul-de-sac, wasn't hers. It was mine. Every inch, legally, quietly, mine. That night sleep didn't come. I sat at the kitchen table, a shot of whiskey in hand, my grandfather's faded property map spread out before me. My fingers traced the lines of the gravel road, once a county route until the city redrew the map decades ago. The HOA had used it ever since, assuming it was theirs by right of proximity. But proximity isn't ownership. The easement had expired 10 years back, and when my grandfather passed, I never renewed it. I'd kept the land, kept my silence, and let them believe what they wanted until now. At dawn, I walked the road's edge, snapping photos of the survey stakes still buried in the dirt. I unearthed an old metal sign from the weeds, saw private road, no trespassing, saw, and propped it against the fence, not to scare anyone, just to make a point. Miranda, of course, was back by noon, roaring up in her oversized SUV, blasting the Vivaldi with the windows down, a VY source so wide it screamed Suburban General. She stepped out, phone already recording, accusing me of intimidation. "The HOA won't stand for this rural trash," she spat, her words slicing through the air. I stood by the barn, arms crossed, silent. I didn't mention the county records, the expired easement, or the fact that I could lock this road with a single gate. I wasn't here to tell her. I was here to show her. The tow yard called that afternoon, claiming my truck was abandoned. I laughed, bitter and short, then drove down with the title and photos of it parked on my land. The clerk, red-faced, waived the fees and muttered an apology. I towed it back myself, but this time, I parked it square across the road, hood popped, a folding chair beside it. Every evening, I sat there with lemonade and a newspaper, while viewing at HOA folks as they slowed, confused or furious. One man, Miranda's husband, leaned out his window, demanding why I was blocking their road. "Just maintaining my private road," I said calmly. He scoffed, saying the HOA would bury me. I told him the HOA didn't even own the dirt they were driving on. The truth, like water, always finds the cracks, and Miranda had just split open the wrong one. I made quiet calls, legal ones, the kind that shift foundations without a sound. While Miranda rallied her neighborhood watch to spy on my truck, I drafted papers to revoke all access to the road. No shouting, no flyers, just patience and 2 steel gates. The road that had carried her HOA minions for years was about to become a lesson in consequences. Miranda turned my truck into her personal vendetta, slapping it on the HOA newsletter as a property hazard, and warning that blight tanked home values. She conveniently left out that the truck wasn't on HOA land or that she'd towed it illegally. Neighbors started avoiding me. The guy who waved while walking his dog now hurried past. The couple who bought my eggs every Sunday suddenly went low cholesterol. It didn't faze me. I didn't sell eggs for money. I liked the rhythm. But I saw Miranda's game, isolate me, provoke a reaction. She didn't know I played the long game. Then came the camera's two shiny motion sensors on the HOA fence, aimed at my gate like I was a criminal. One even had a solar panel for round-the-clock spying. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was desperate. Let her record me feeding chickens or sipping coffee. That night, I grabbed my cast-iron skillet, stood under her camera, and waved it like a flag, tossing in a pose with a garden gnome for good measure. The next morning, I caught one of her lackeys, a twitchy guy with binoculars, pretending to birdwatch. I offered him lemonade. He tripped over his own feet, fleeing. I didn't laugh until I was inside. While Miranda played spy, I filed with the county. The easement was dead, the road was mine, backed by the deed, a survey map, and an affidavit VYT from the old road super VY SOR. I rerouted county and emergency access to a paved road on the other side of the sub-BVY Cyanone I didn't own. Then I hired a welder. In 3 days, 2 steel gates stood at both ends of the road owned by the HOA's cul-de-sac, one at the highway. I didn't lock them. Not yet. I installed keypad boxes and kept the codes to myself. The gates alone sparked panic. Miranda stormed up the next morning with her HOA posse, squawking about community disruption. I strolled to my side of the gate, hands in pockets, and asked her to name one law I'd broken. She couldn't. I told her the easement was gone, and any use of my road required permission. "You can't cut off access!" she screamed, arms flailing. "That's criminal!" I told her to call the sheriff. She had. The deputy, a poker buddy from the feed store, arrived and studied my papers, deed, expiration notice, tow-day photos. Miranda paced like a caged animal. After 5 minutes, he looked up. "Ma'am, he owns the road. He can lock it. You need a court order to change that." Miranda's face cycled through pale, red, pale again. She stormed off, her flock trailing, phones buzzing with HOA gossip. That night, I locked the gates, set the codes, and posted signs. Saw private road, no access without permission. Saw simple, no threats, just truth. By morning, chaos erupted. No garbage trucks, no school buses, no deliveries. Residents shouted questions, Miranda silent as a ghost. An elderly woman in a golf cart asked if this was a protest. "Just protecting my rights," I said. She nodded. "Some folks think rules don't apply to them." She drove off humming. Miranda unraveled, calling my gates a land coup, at an emergency HOA meeting, tossing around words like hostage and extortion. But I'd left copies of my paperwork in a box by the gate. The truth spread. She'd lied, overreached, dragged them into her war over a truck she had no right to touch. The gates weren't tyranny, they were justice. Monday brought a storm, not rain, but fury. School buses stalled, trash trucks lined the highway. Miranda, in a silk robe, pounded the gate with a wooden spoon, screaming about public safety. I didn't answer. The deputy returned, sighed, and took my updated county confirmation. "This is civil, not criminal," he told her. "He owns the road. Use Willow Ridge." Miranda snapped that 40 homes were trapped. "They've got another entrance," he said. "Just not as convenient." That word convenience hit like a slap. Her HOA thrived on it, and now it was gone. That afternoon, I parked my truck inside the gate, hood up, radio playing Johnny Cash, coffee in hand. Cars pulled up, stared, turned away. One woman asked if the gates were permanent. "Unless someone gives me a reason," I said. She smiled, said she'd always hated HOA meetings. Miranda wasn't done. She returned with a suited lawyer, tiptoeing in leather shoes, offering Mediation. I asked if he had a checkbook. He blinked. I offered to do law 1/year lease. Miranda resigned and apologized publicly. His smile faded. He left. The neighborhood forum exploded screenshots of the deed, the sheriff's words, her newsletter lies. Residents split, some blamed me, others turned on Miranda. Then she hired a bulldozer to carve a new road through conservation land I'd leased to the state. Rangers shut it down with citations before lunch. The HOA was humiliated, their money wasted on her defiance. That night someone slipped the HOA bylaws into my mailbox, bookmarked, with a note, "Saw we're calling a vote." "Thank you." Saw I smiled, poured a whiskey, and stepped outside. The road glowed under moonlight, peaceful, earned. Miranda's war was crumbling. At the next HOA meeting, her slide showed circles around my truck, labeled "VY Soil Pollution," flopped. Residents grilled her, "Why no easement check? Why block the other entrance?" Someone yelled, "We're united, just not with you." The board pulled her off stage. A petition to oust her gained signatures overnight. The new VYC president sent a letter acknowledging my ownership, requesting access talks. Miranda made one last stand, parking outside the gate, staring at my porch. "I thought I was protecting the neighborhood," she said, voice flat. "You towed my truck, called the sheriff, dug up protected land," I replied. "That's not protection." She nodded. "I didn't know about the easement." She asked if I wanted her to step down. I didn't answer. She knew. The next day, she resigned. Her apology, posted online, admitted she'd overstepped. The HOA voted to accept my lease. Gates stayed, codes went to residents, not board members. A team delivered a note inviting me to a community dinner. I sent eggs and honey instead, with a note, "Saw no hard feelings, respect the fence." Saw the road was quiet now, just wind through oaks and clucking hens. Neighbors waved, some stopped to chat. The new president, Ethan, brought the signed lease, nervous but earnest. I said I'd keep the gates open unless provoked. He hoped no one would. I fixed the truck fresh red paint, chrome mirrors, saw private road, no HOA trespassing, saw stenciled on the tailgate. That weekend, I fired up the smoker.